It takes about a minute to come up on YouTube. So right, we're live now, but let's see. I'm just going to send it through the thread we've been chatting through before.
Okay.
Right, there we are. Mute. And email getting sent now. That should be with you now.
Yeah, it is.
Come up on mine. Have you got that link there, Mandy?
Yep, I certainly have.
Right, okay. So just for people in the chat, as you know, who are familiar with the Q&As, it takes a couple of minutes while I get this out to social media, but Mandy can see you coming in the chat there. But yeah, so give me 2 minutes, guys, and we'll be with you. Right. You got that link there, Mandy?
Yep, I certainly have.
Right, okay. So just for people in the chat, as you know, who are familiar. So what did you have for tea or for dinner, Mandy? Or what have you made?
Lasagna. Very healthy,
very nice.
Obviously. Yeah, all very good. But it was just a case of lots of children getting back at different times. So it was quite funny, really.
Yeah, I've got, we're making Chinese tonight, Singapore noodles.
Oh, sounds delicious. Oh, I prefer to be where you are. I'll swap you.
I love lasagna. It's one of my favourites, I have to admit. So.
Oh, really? Oh, no. It was just more that I had lots of people coming in at different times, like children and husbands and doing different activities. So I thought, right, it's cooked, it's done. You can all just get it when you come in.
Yeah, you've been a busy bee today. I seen on your Instagram post that you're helping with the NHS, the laundry. Was it your last day? Yeah. Tell us about that, why we get the questions in.
Yeah, so no, it was great. It's been great, actually. So right at the start of lockdown, my husband and I both contacted the hospital to see if we could do anything. And we sort of both felt we were lacking a bit of purpose, I think. And it came back and they said, yeah, we really need some help in the laundry. And we were sort of going, oh, this could be quite good, taking everything around. Actually, our job was literally washing, folding and, laundry and tumble drying all of the scrubs. But you realise, what? It was this critical point in the system where, because everyone was suddenly wearing scrubs and they were washing them every single day, they didn't have enough time to turn them around and send them off to a laundrette, to an actual, better system. So the people that were volunteering were doing, shifts going in and doing that. So no, it was good, actually. But they're starting to go back into uniforms now because we haven't got any patients at the moment with COVID down here in Winchester. And so, they don't need as many, which is quite handy. So, yeah, I get my Tuesdays and Wednesdays back, which is good.
That's brilliant. Well, yeah, there's a few people coming in, but before I start, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, or the folks who sponsored Mandy's original interview, who are Runway 25, who produce some amazing aviation patches, coins, keyrings and prints. And one of my favourites is actually this. Mandy, you'll appreciate that. The Farewell Tornado patch, which is actually PVC. So if you want to head over to their website and pick up some tornado memorabilia, it's at runway25.com. But yeah, Mandy, so what have you been up to since last time we spoke, which was about 3 weeks ago?
Yes, well, I've been pretty busy, actually. So I launched my book, which I think I told you about. In fact, I just realised I haven't even got a copy up here. That's how disorganised I've been. Shall I run downstairs and grab one?
Go and grab one, Mandy, yeah. I think quickly,
I'm going to do it. I'm just going to get one.
Go for it.
I possibly not have one here. Give me a second.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us, folks. And yeah, I'm sure you already know Mandy's background. She's a former Tornado GR4 pilot, and now a motivational speaker and obviously author. So yeah, get your questions coming in, and she's more than happy to answer what you have coming. And we're going to go on for about an hour, so about 8 o'clock. So yeah, get them coming in. But I'm sure Mandy's got a book here now.
Oh, I'm slightly out of breath.
You got it eventually.
I did indeed, yes. So, yes, no, I've been doing loads of PR for that, actually. It's been great doing lots of podcasts, radio interviews. Been quite a few speaking engagements as well, which is what I normally do. And so, yeah, just sort of speaking to lots of businesses about that and trying to build the business back up again, really.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, but while we get the questions coming in, just like give it like a 2-minute summary of your flying career. I know that's probably difficult to do, but just what you flew and where you are now.
Sure. Oh, so went through the normal training process. So started off, my very first flight was on a Chipmunk. That's how old I am, guys. Yes, I know. It was a very easy paper round for me. But flew a Chipmunk. Then I flew Bulldogs at university. Oh, also got a PPL at Blackpool Airport on a PA-28, which was great. And then from there, I went off and joined the University Air Squadron, where I flew the Bulldog, leading on to joining the Air Force, and then through the process of the Slingsby Firefly, the Tucano, the Hawk, and then the mighty Tornado. So, and then in my last job, actually, I was based at Boscombe Down near Salisbury, and I had the opportunity to fly lots and lots of different aircraft types, which was fantastic. I was just working on a job called Handling Squadron, looking after all the aircraft document sets, but because it's so varied, they liked you to have a bit of a knowledge about the different aircraft. So I've got to fly the Falcon and got involved with the Hawks down at Culdrose. We would do ship attacks and things and go in simulating. We were dropping the Hawks off our wings. I also flew in the Hawks as well down from Culdrose, which was brilliant. So some low-level stuff over the sea, which was really good fun.
Brilliant. Well, as you can see, Mandy, on the side, there's lots of questions coming in. But as just to remind you, you can scroll up just so you don't miss any. But yep. I'm going to let you take it away, Mandy, and really have a great time. And yeah, get your questions coming in, guys, and enjoy.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so just starting right from the top with Jess. Yes, I do know Rich Davies. So he was on one of my squadrons, actually, when I went through the OCU. He was up there. So yeah, I got to know him, which was fantastic. He's a lovely chap. So there we go. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Oh, lovely about the Mac Loop. Yes, love the Mac Loop. That's from Craig. You know what? The flying in Wales, I think, is second to none. Well, that in Scotland. And it's just stunning. And the Mac Loop particularly is just brilliant. And there's nothing better than coming around the corner. You're really tucked up on the side. And you look up and you see all the photographers. And it's almost like you give them a quick wave. And I've had it that quite a few of the photographers since then have contacted me after speeches I've done, and they've got in touch and actually shared some of their pictures with me, which has been really lovely. So I've actually got some of the aircraft that I was flying in as they've taken the photos as well, which is brilliant. So yes, wonderful. I don't know if that was you actually, Craig, there. So who else have we got there? How many hours did I accrue? Just under 2,000 in the end. So about just under 1,000 on Tornado, and then about 1,000 on all the different other aircraft types that I've flown as well. So we've got a lovely question. Would I have liked to fly in the F-111? So yes, that's a really fun one. So we had quite a few Australian exchange pilots and navs that came over, and they were always raving about the F-111. Which is quite funny because actually some sort of describe it as being a bit of a beast. It's quite similar to the Tornado GR4, you know, it's quite a big machine. So it's sort of not like highly maneuverable like some of the other smaller aircraft types that you've got. Yeah, Craig, can I sign you a copy? Absolutely. Basically, if you go onto my Facebook page, I'm sure we can sort out getting signed copies of the lovely book there. Yes, and obviously not a gentleman. So really happy to sign copies, but you just need to send me a link through my Facebook page, and we can, I'm sure, sort something out. So can I take you through that's a good one, yeah. Hi, can you take us through the missile evasion at low level at night in a Tornado? Okay, so the time that I got actually locked on by a missile, a surface-to-air missile, many of you might have heard about me talking about it from the previous interviews that I did with Mike. But for those of you that didn't hear, I'll pretty much go through it again. But basically, it wasn't low-level flying. We were over Iraq, and we were up at about 20,000 feet. And we were pretty much coming back to base, really quite calm. It was a very, very low threat environment around the Saudi Arabia border, and we got locked on by a surface to air missile. It was fired in a heat seeking mode, which is really unusual actually, because that's got a really low probability of kill. PK is quite low, but it did get lock on, and it was a really good job that basically my navigator spotted it through his night vision goggles, and he just basically shouted to me to brake right, and I did the manoeuvre that we practice a lot. And because you practiced it a lot, when someone actually shouts a command at you, you just instantly go into the program mode and you basically respond with something. It was like the cassette goes in and you just react. And so, yeah, we managed to evade the missile. We popped our flares out. The missile took our flares, which was fantastic. And basically, we then were tasked to go and take out a target in Iraq, because that's the response option that you sometimes get when an aggressive act is made towards any one of the coalition forces at the time. So we went and found a tanker in Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, it wasn't our British one. Ours had broken, which was a pity, and the lovely Americans had managed to get one of theirs to replace ours. But I wasn't qualified on type. I've never refueled from the KC-135 before. And so that was all a bit of a shocker. Basically, you don't really want to be trying something for the very first time at night after you've just been shot at by a missile. So I'll be honest, wasn't successful, but the rest of my team basically went back into Iraq, located the target, and they actually destroyed it. And we landed back on our fumes back at base. So yeah, it was a bit of a shocker of an evening, actually. So that was that. But I'm often asked on that sort of time, if you feel scared or, fearful. That's actually not what you're feeling when you're going through something like that, bizarrely. You are trained to just the nth degree. And so you just follow the procedures. You just follow your training. It's when you get back to the ground afterwards that you start to actually think about what could have been. And it's in a quiet moment, perhaps when you get back to your room, when you think, whew, that was about as close as it's ever been, and as close as I would want it to be again. So yeah, that's that one. So how was your GR4 target airplane? Oh, was the GR4? Yeah, you know what? The GR4 was my target aircraft, actually. I absolutely love low level. I'm a low level junkie. Give me ground attack any day. And I know a lot of you guys love the sort of fighter side of things. But to me, air combat is something, but in the low level environment, that's where I used to get my complete rush. So low level, fast flying, that's the one I would like to do. So yeah, go through those ones. I flew the Chipmunk and a Bulldog. Excellent, Mr. Templar or Mrs. Templar. That's good to see. They are awesome little planes. And you know what? I really love I'm so fond of the Bulldog. I think if everyone came up, my husband and I might be tempted to try and buy one, actually. Have I ever come close to blacking out for any reason? And have you seen any other flying pilots losing control? So yeah, I have been really close to blacking out, and it was bizarrely, it wasn't probably when you think I'm going to say. So once you get past the Tucano, you get a G-suit, and obviously the G-suit inflates for your lower half. At the time for us, we didn't have a full body G-suit, and basically it's a bladder, kicks you in the stomach, fills all of the legs and compresses your legs, and it stops the blood from pooling in your feet. And but you don't get it on Tucanos, and we were doing something called max rate turns, where you're pulling a sustained G-force. It was about 4G. It was maybe wasn't that much G-force, but I'm really tall, and a lot of pilots are quite short. Fortunately, my husband's a pilot, and he's not short, which is lucky. But a lot of pilots are a little bit shorter than me, and they have got the perfect figures for being fast jet pilots. But at 6 foot tall, I think when I was pulling this sustained G, I just kept on seeing I got complete grey out. So grey out precedes the blackout, and you can see your vision just coming in, and you take a breath of oxygen, you force it through a technique, the anti-G straining manoeuvre, up to your brain, and every time you took this oxygen, held your breath, you force it up, and you could see your eyes going, oh, vision's back. Oh no, as soon as the oxygen started to deplete again and the blood came away from your head, then it starts to close in again. And I was in this fighting battle, and eventually I completely greyed out, and I said to my instructor, I think I might need to stop because I can't actually see anything, which wasn't good. So no, I mean, losing the loss of consciousness caused by G-force is, really, really dangerous. And, as we saw with the Red Arrows, tragic incident and accident down in Bournemouth, which was what it was put down to in the end. So any comments on the GR4's combat range? Good, bad, enough? Well, it was good enough for me. You know what? I mean, if it's completely clean, you've got a good range on it. But the problem is when you start loading the aircraft up with all your stores, with weapons, with fuel tanks, that's when your range starts to really come down. So yeah, that's where the difficulty is as well. I love this one. Troy, have you ever spoken on the American Jellos podcast, the Fighter Pilot podcast? Bizarrely, he and I have just been in touch. And yeah, so I'm going to be speaking on that. I think we're recording it next week, actually. So I think on the 15th, which is fantastic. So yeah, we really enjoy speaking to him. But I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry. Oh, he's back. He's like this spectre, isn't he? Mike suddenly appears out of nowhere. So it's like, I feel like that's Big Brother watching. Yeah. But you can't say that, actually, Mike, because I have just been watching basically the question and answer session on here with him. So there you go. It is. Yeah, I have to say, I am really looking forward to it, actually. It should be good fun. So that's that one. Let me just, I've just gone there. Which way? Just a second. As I'm just scrolling through. A female pilot now motivational speaker, pretty inspirational. What's your view on diversity, given the recent hyper? You know what, we've got a long way to go still with diversity. And when I think of how few female pilots there still are, even in the commercial sector as well. And I know it doesn't have to be just gender diversity, but obviously cultural, racial diversity and all the rest of it. And yeah, I think it is still shocking. I think, you know, as a nation and as an entire world, actually, there's a lot that we need to do. But looking at the actual female diversity side of things, let's look at women in cockpits, for example. I know that Carolyn McCall with EasyJet, she was making a huge mission to get the percentage of women pilots, you know, in the cockpit from 7%. In her time, she wanted to get it to 12%, and she never cracked it. I think they got to about 10%. So it's a real shame that we still don't have many female pilots, because you know what, we really need them as really strong inspirational role models to our youngsters that are coming through. There was a fantastic clip on YouTube, actually, from a charity I do a lot of work with called Inspiring the Future, where they had three women that went into a school. One was a surgeon, there was a surgeon, a firefighter, and a fast jet pilot. And they went in and they asked all the class, they were in their civilian clothing, and they were asked the class, they said, guys, I want you to draw a picture of a fast jet pilot, a picture of a surgeon and a picture of a firefighter. Draw the picture and put the name of the person on there. And I think it was like out of the 90 drawings or something, it was something shocking, like 86 of them were of men. And the women went out, they got changed into their clothes, their uniforms, they came back in, and the children all looked at them and went, why are you dressed like that? Which is shocking, isn't it? So even as young as 6, you know, we've actually got this distinction of male jobs, female jobs. And you know what, I heard that the female pilot, and I'm not going to mention her name, but she walked out, and one of the children, after they'd even said, no, we are them, it's our jobs, you know, women do these things. One of the little children went up to her and went, are you going to have to give back your husband's uniform now that you've finished? And that was the final thing, which is just such a shame, isn't it? So yeah, a long time to go. So from the freckle, is that the freckle puny, is it? Like me, you wear glasses. So actually, this has just come on. I think it's almost come on post me getting COVID. My eyesight seems to have really deteriorated, but I've hit that magic age where we all need reading glasses. But no, up to now, I've had 20/20 vision pretty much the whole of my life. Well, I was really lucky because my sister is very, very short-sighted. So she's almost technically blind now. So we're very lucky that she chose to be a doctor in palliative care. I chose to be a pilot, because if we'd done it the other way around, she wouldn't have been very fortunate, I don't think. So can you take us through a strike mission planning for a tornado mission? Yeah, so I can do it very briefly, basically. A lot of it basically was done on Tampa, the tornado advanced planning aid, basically. And, you know, you can, once we got that, I mean, when I first started, it was almost being done, you know, manually by hand, and it used to take ages and ages to plan. But once we got Tampa in, we could speed it all up, and you can just drop your route really quickly. But the bit that you need to take the time on is actually studying things like the targets. So, you know, you're not just sort of picking a random thing and saying, let's hit that target. When you're studying a target, you're looking at the dimensions of it. How thick are the walls? What intelligence have we got on it? And therefore, what weapons would we need, with what fuse settings to try to create the damage that we want to that target. So that's a really, really strategic part of it. And the other side of it is when you're actually on a mission operationally, is to look at all the threats. And there's often so many different threats that are out there, from everything from AAA sites, which is the anti-aircraft artillery, to surface-to-air missiles, all with different strategies to avoid them, but also different dimensions, avoidance zones and things like that. So you need to be really quite careful. And then it's the coordination. So, you know, we're never normally going into a mission as singletons or even as a formation of 4. We would normally always be in a big coalition, often working with our wonderful American friends. And if you're doing that, then actually everyone has different roles within that coalition and within that huge formation. I mean, you can get sort of 80 aircraft going. Some will have suppression of enemy air defences. They'll all have different roles. You'll have the fighters up there. And that's why doing things like exercise Red Flag is fantastic. So we would go over to America, practice Red Flag, which is done at Nellis Air Force Base, which is just brilliant. If you want to think Top Gun, that's it. I sort of turned up and I was walking going, I've arrived, I'm here. This is Top Gun. So it was just brilliant. I absolutely loved it. But you're basically under the philosophy of that you're training harder than you'll ever have to fight for real. So that's pretty much it. So there we go. What did you make of the the tornado fly past? Oh, it was wonderful. I actually got really emotional because some of my good friends and my old instructor, Doorknob, flew the very last one as well, which was lovely. And then we had one heck of a party. It was a hangar party at Marham, and we all went into this enormous big hangar, and there was a tornadoes at the end. We had a band. We saw all the ground crew. It was a mixture of ground crew and air crew. And by the end of it, I think we were all sort of sitting on the tornado. There's a picture, I think, circulating somewhere of myself and the other 4 women that were present. And we were all there sitting on this tornado wing, and it was quite funny because at one point the station commander came over and went, "Guys, can you all get off the tornado?" And we went, "It's not flying again." We went, "Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, just don't wear your shoes on there then, no high heels." But yeah, so that was a very sad day. But yeah, no, I loved it. And I when it was doing the 3-ship fly past around the whole country, I took my boys out to Boscombe Down, and it was really funny because I think it was Radio Wiltshire contacted me, and we'd gone to Boscombe Down to watch them, and right at the moment that the flypast was coming over, the radio rang me and went, "So Mandy, what do you think of the flypast?" I'm thinking, I'm trying to watch it. It was so annoying. I just thought the timing was just terrible. And all you could hear on this radio is my 2 boys going, "Mum, did you really used to fly those?" Because they're teenagers, and it was obviously done with some grunting. But they did come and they did see them, and I think they were proud, which is fantastic. Did I ever fly to Lynham? Yeah, I did fly to Lynham a lot. I had loads of good friends as well who were based at Lynham. So I used to go to Lynham quite regularly for some really good parties, which was fantastic. If I didn't get selected for the fast jet community, what would you have wanted to join? I'd have probably wanted to actually go and fly. Oh, I've just lost that. Sorry, I'm just going to get that back. I would probably have wanted to go and fly the Herc. Actually, I had so many friends doing it, and I think the nice thing with the Herc is that, you know, has got that tactical side of it as well. So that's really good. So yeah, I quite like that thought of doing that, and you got a bit of the tactical too, which is fantastic. So sorry, I'm just getting that back so I can see what's going on here. Craig, thank you. My pleasure, Craig. I'm interested to know how you planned missions to and the information that was available to you whilst you were in the air. Can I elaborate? Yeah, so I sort of talked about that mission planning, basically. In the air, you're getting updates all the time as to things that are around when different people and different crews get spikes coming up on their radar homing and warning receiver, the RHWR, then they'll radio through to the rest of the formation. So you are getting a little bit more of an update, which is fantastic. Yes, the UFO chipmunks as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's a lovely aircraft. Did the Tornado have G limits? And as a mud mover, did you ever pull high G maneuvers? So you're right. Yeah, it does have G limits. It's just that you never normally get there because you've got everything hanging on them. You know, as a mud mover, you're carrying weight. So actually, you're not talking hugely agile. And I mean, the most you're going to pull, I think, was 3.75, maybe 4G when you've got different loads on. One time I pulled an enormous amount of G. It's the most G-force I've ever pulled, actually. I was doing a trial, and it was for a brand new G-suit that was coming in on Eurofighter. And they were bringing in the full G-suit, which covered your arms, and basically your body and obviously your legs as well. And they said, man, so we're just going to pop you in the back of this hawk. We're going to do some sustained high G manoeuvres. Obviously, I just want to see how your G tolerance is and how the suit helps you. So anyway, we're in this hawk and we're flying along, and Gareth in the front snaps on this G-force, and I was like, oh, and obviously my head's quite heavy now. I'm sort of pinned back in my seat, and he said, really rotate your head round, have a good look to see what you can see. I'm thinking, oh, I can barely move, I'm pinned in my seat. Well, anyway, we got to about 9G, and it was a sustained, it's the maximum G limit for the hawk. And basically, I couldn't move. I'm just pinned there, like rotating my eyes. This G-suit's inflated, and all my arms are really hurting. Anyway, I landed in the bath that evening. I hope this is not too much graphic detail for you. But I'm in the bath that evening. I look down, and I've got these really strange marks all over my body, all the way down my arms, in this line here, and this line all the way up here, all down my inner thigh and outer thigh. And it looked like I was a rag doll, and it was stitching. And basically it was the stitching for where the G-suit is actually stitched together. Because I was putting so much G, my blood had blistered out of the surface of my skin. And it was hilarious. And basically I've got these blood blisters looking like a rag doll. So I could see the entire, where the whole stitching was on this thing. So that was quite funny. My husband was laughing a lot, as you can imagine. What is the worst weather you've flown in a tornado? Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story now, because that's what I love doing. Stories are the best, aren't they? So I was in Goose Bay. I was flying with this really experienced navigator, Jace, in the back seat, and I was just on the operational conversion unit, so on the OCU, and basically we were doing ACT as part of the course, and a slot had come up for us to go out to Goose Bay, and it's too good an opportunity not to sort of take it. And so we took it as a squadron, and all the instructors were thrilled, because on the OCU you don't normally get the opportunity to do that sort of thing. Excuse me a minute. So anyway, we head over to Goose Bay, and the interesting thing with Goose Bay is it's quite a tricky airfield in many ways. In Labrador, in Canada, firstly, the flying out there is really interesting because they've newly planted all of these massive forests. And we were often doing OLF, operational low flying, where you can go down to 100 feet. And we're told that the radar is really unstable at that height. So they say, you just judge it visually. So if you can imagine, it's known as going as low as your sphincter will let you go. Is that too much information again, Mike? Sorry, I shouldn't say that word. Anyway, so basically you're getting a tenser and tenser buttocks as you're going down. You get to 100 feet and you think, right, I'm there. And that's when you know you're at 100 feet. So it was interesting. We're flying along, and we were doing all these manoeuvres and things. And we were in a foreship, which was bounced by another aircraft. So, you know, you're manoeuvring at low level. Anyway, we found out later on that these forests had been newly planted, and where we were judging ourselves to be about 20, 30 feet on top of the forests, thinking that was about 100 feet, we weren't. We were actually on top of very small little miniature Christmas trees that had just been planted. We thought they were the tops of the trees. They weren't. They were, in fact, the whole of the tree. And we were probably flying at about 40 feet. So that was a little bit worrying. But the weather situation, so going back, I'm flicked a bit, but yeah, so lots of challenging aspects to Goose Bay, as I say. So the forestry, a monochromatic surface, because it's just all green everywhere. But the airfield inside itself is unusual. It had a big wide runway, and the runway was split into two halves. So on one half, it was ridged because they have some pretty extreme weather that goes through. And because it's so extreme, they say if you're coming back and it's what's called a contaminated runway, i.e. you've got standing water, don't land on the middle of the runway. Land on the ridge side, because it will prevent you from aquaplaning, from skidding down the runway. And the other side was smooth. So anyway, I'm on this ACT trip, the air combat training, and to get a pass for this flight, we had to do one final merge. So we know that we're sort of cutting it a little bit fine with our fuel state. You know, we were completely legal, but we're sort of right on the edge thinking, right, so we get to the end of this final merge, we get it, it's a pass sortie, we've covered back to base, and they said, the thunderstorms that we were anticipating not being here for another 40 minutes, they're actually arriving now. And we were thinking, oh my goodness, we haven't got enough fuel now. So they said, look, get in pretty quickly. So we accepted a talk down, an instrument talk down. So we started coming down this instrument talk down. And as we're coming down the slope, they said, could you accept a talk down from a trainee? Thought, that's probably not the best time to be doing it. You know, I've only got about 30 hours on this jet, but we're coming down. I said, of course I can, because I'm young, I'm inexperienced, and I'm invincible. So we're coming down the slope, and this talk down is not going so well. Normally it's 1 degree left, 2 degrees right. But what we're having is 5 degrees left, 10 degrees right. Can you come 12 degrees left? I'm thinking, this is horrendous. We're in thick cloud. There's thunderstorms all around us. Anyway, we're pushing it. I'm thinking, oh, my fuel's at a minimum. And there's literally, we can see lightning spikes going off. The rain is coming down in torrents. I'm coming down this hideous weather, with this awful 5 I'm thinking, it must be the weather, must be the wind that's blowing us. But basically, I popped out of cloud at 200 feet, which was my absolute minimum. 200 feet, look up, can I see the airfield? Yes, I can see the airfield, but I'm not lined up at this point with the runway. I'm lined up with the apron where all the aircraft are parked. And I thought, oh my God, I've got to land this jet because we're low on fuel and weather's only going to get worse. So I slammed it over to the right because, you know, I could, because it's just the two of us in the jet. And I got it lined up and I thought, you are the girl. And I landed smack on the middle of the centre line. Of course, I know what you're all thinking. You're all going, yeah, but you shouldn't have done that because it's ridged. So at this point, basically, I engaged the afterburners, the reheat, and we started to skid, and we aquaplaned, one wheel only on the smooth side, and we completely skidded through 90 degrees, and we're going at about 140 miles an hour sideways down a runway, which is not a good situation to be in. So at that point, my nav yelled, I'm not ejecting yet, which was quite frankly the most unpositive thing you could say, because I hadn't even thought about ejecting to that point. But once he said that, it suddenly crystallized my thoughts somewhat. So there we go. There's a very long answer for your very quick question of what's the worst weather. Is there a huge difference? Yeah, there is a huge difference, Yin Zhang, between the 250 feet and the 100 feet. Yeah, it's amazing, actually. At 100 feet, I would say that your focus has got to be 100% in front of you. You are literally scanning it. Your nav is out the back on literally, his head is rotating on a swivel. But as a pilot, you are very, very focused on making sure that your path is clear in front of you. So no, it's very challenging. Your granddad, Jude, was your hero and inspiration for your passion and your interest in following all things in the RAF. Who or what was yours? Well, actually, do you know what? That's really lovely, Jude, because mine was my grandpa too, and he was a pilot in the Second World War. And in fact, I'm just looking. Oh, I've got a photo. In fact, this is really lovely. I didn't actually have this plan, but it's on my wall. So these are his war medals. These are his medals that he got from the Second World War that he gave to me on my 21st birthday. And basically, it was the most lovely moment when these medals for war service for Germany and for the Near and Far East, where he served as well. And he gave those to me on my birthday. And basically, I grew up listening to amazing stories of these daring and do that they got up to. And and it basically started to drip feed that this might be something that I would want to do. But at the time, women weren't allowed to be pilots. So, yeah, although I was really inspired by him, actually it was challenging because the doors were still shut. So that was always quite concerning as well. Did I have a favourite? Oh, I can't, to be honest, I cannot remember. But I did have my name written on an aircraft, and isn't this embarrassing to say? I need someone to look up the Mike. Can you quickly look up the the picture of me sitting on an aeroplane and find out what the serial number was? That would be handy to know. Yep. Yeah, you give that a go, because then I can answer that one for Azza. I was never stationed in Germany, actually, Jess. Sadly, I got posted to RAF Marham, and my friends all got Larbrook, which they were thrilled about. And but at the same time, I was actually quite pleased to have Marham, because I actually wanted to live with my husband, or my boyfriend at the time, and he was based out of Gatwick, so flying for EasyJet. So actually it meant that we could both live together for the first time in our lives, which was quite exciting. What's it like flying low level night regard? Oh, yeah, that's a good one then, Yin. What's it like flying low level at night, flying relying on your terrain following radar? It's pretty scary, actually. That really is the moment where you've got to trust your kit. So before night vision goggles came along, because initially when I was flying, we didn't have night vision goggles. So you were doing it, and we didn't even have forward looking infrared either. So when I started and you were doing it on the GR1 before it came the GR4 and we got FLIR, suddenly, you know, you're going in and you step it down really incrementally. So you've got the E-scope, which basically gives you a view of what's coming up, and you can see the terrain in front of you. And the terrain following radar is the thing that's going to, you edge it down. You put it in increments of 100 feet. And you always set the radar 10% below so that, you know, if it ever pings, then you can do the immediate cut off and basically pull up out of the danger zone. But basically, stepping it down, the torque, the patter between you and your nav is phenomenal. I mean, there's no chat. There's no, what a lovely evening. It's not that. You're literally just talking about things. And the best time I ever did it was actually, it was in Goose Bay again, but it was when I was on the squadron this time, and we were dropping some live weapons, and it was phenomenal. We basically took off in pitch blackness, and we knew we were flying down valleys. At one point, the moon popped out from some clouds, and I could see that we were in a valley. We've got granite on either side of us, and we have not seen anything, touched the controls at all. The jet is flying. It gets the target, nav marks the target. We drop our weapon, live weapon, completely accurately, direct hit on target, carry on our way, get home, land the jet. And I was like, that's phenomenal. We've been airborne for an hour and a half, and I've not seen the ground once, and we hit a target. So TFR is, I always think it's the one thing that basically put the GR4 above so many of the other jets that are out there. How would I feel having to use the JP233 or £1,000 free-fall dumb bombs directly over an airfield? Yeah, I think that's a really good question, actually. I was quite pleased that the JP233 went out of service and that we didn't use it. I mean, we would use it in planning stages where we'd say, yeah, we'd be dropping a cluster bomb. But actually, yeah, I was relieved when that got taken out of service. And yeah, but at the same time, only because I think when we were using it initially, I don't think people were really thinking so much further ahead on the things like mine warfare and the fact that they existed for so long. And I think Princess Diana and her campaign really brought that to the forefront of people's thought processes. And I think it changed perceptions as well as to mines, and therefore that's why it was taken out of service in the end. So, oh, thank you. It's a Mr. Templar. How did I find my time at Red Flag in Nellis? Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. Honestly, Red Flag is brilliant because it's the sort of the first time you're probably going to be working in a really, really great coalition of aircraft from all over the world and up against the Americans as Red Air, the baddies. Their job is to shoot you down. They are really, really good at it. Yeah, really good. You have to, like, every time you got shot down, you have to like leave the area, regenerate. As my son would say, you'd have to respawn. I think that's the lingo these days, isn't it, on Call of Duty? So we were doing a poem the other day or something, and I said, imagine you're in a war zone. He said, well, it's not a problem. I just go and respawn somewhere. Like, yeah, it doesn't quite work like that for real, love. So there you go. But yeah, it's phenomenal flying. And also, I loved the meeting of everyone. I loved the banter. And there was some great banter over there as well. Yeah, working with the Americans is just such good fun. Oh, so there we go. Did the GR4 have an anti-runway mission? Not when I was on it. No, we didn't. So that was quite good to see. Oh, I'm just going to click back onto that. Sorry, I've gone down. There we go. Oh, I've gone. I need to speed up. There's so many questions coming in here. Right, I'm going to go really quickly now then. Yes, you had a blackout in the Bulldog. There you go. You see, Mr. T. I'm not alone. Well, you almost blacked out. There you go. Did I ever have the chance to work with the elite RAF regiment, Chris? The regiment are brilliant. You know, they really are. And yeah, we worked with them. We had them out in Ali Al Salem when we were out there as well, which was fantastic. Highest altitude I've ever flown to. I think that would be in the Hawk, actually, and I think it was on a night flying trip. Went up to the ceiling of the Hawk, which I think is, I don't say it because I'm bound to be wrong, but it's about 40,000 feet. And we basically stuck the nose down, and we got to Mach 1.1 or something. It's the first time I've broken the speed barrier at night in a Hawk over the sea, so you don't drop a boom over the UK. And that's when we often did that night run, so you could do it. What is your favourite area to fly in, and any area you wish you could have flown? Do you know what? I absolutely love flying in Scotland, and especially over the west coast. It is stunning. I mean, you know what, I know it's not the hottest place in the world, but the beaches up there are beautiful, and it's crystal clear blue waters as well. And you can almost see where, when you're up in the sky, you can almost see how the earth was before it split off into islands, and you can imagine it sort of coming together, and you think you can actually see where an island would have fitted into the coast. I mean, it's stunning up there. I absolutely love it, and I love the valley flying that you can do, as I do in Wales as well. I mean, that's the sort of flying that's really good fun to do, certainly for a pilot anyway. How was the HUD on the GR4? The CCIP, HUD was good. CCIP showed in it the continuous impact point, absolutely. Who was a female pilot who I looked up to as an inspiration? Well, there weren't many. So Jo Salter was, so you had Julie Gibson Gardner, or she is now Gibson Gardner, but Julie Gibson at the time was the first female pilot. And I think she got in I think it was 89. I might be wrong, but I think it was 89. So I think it was, just remember thinking it was about 30 years ago. And then Jo Salter was the very first female fast jet pilot. But Jo and I bizarrely never crossed paths when we were in the Air Force, but we've become really good friends since leaving, which has been lovely, because I sort of seem to have followed in her footsteps, basically. I just copy her. She's too good. I just copy her. So, but yeah, she's basically now left the speaking world, and she now is working for a big corporate. So I'm not sure I'm going to follow her on that one. I fancy getting a camper van and going up and travelling around Scotland again, probably to the West Coast, but not from the sky this time. Then I can wave at all the jets as they go over. If I could fly any aircraft, what would it be? Love to fly either F-15 or F-18, probably F-18 actually, because it'd be lovely to have that agility that I just didn't have. I mean, obviously looking at modern aircraft, I would have to say the F-35 there, but I think it was on the last time we were talking. I've been watching the show about it, and it's all the aircrew getting in and going, it's not working, and the ground crew going, turn it on. You're like, what is this? Control-Alt-Delete? Anyway, so there we go. So that's that. So I'd love to have a go in one of those as well. Do we ever practice loft tactics? Absolutely. Lots of loft tactics. That's what we used to always practice when we were certainly going through training as well, which is good. Thanks for talking about diversity. More and more videos on YouTube of female commercial pilots in action. Yeah, there are. And there needs to be more. So there's loads of stuff on women in aviation on Instagram that I've started following as well. It's just great to see that there seems to be a bit of a movement towards it. And that is what we want to, really do. What do you have to do to get the call sign Doorknob? Well, his name was Dornan, Ian Dornan. So he just got called Doorknob. But isn't that cool? So it's really funny. In the Telegraph, basically, they've got this really cool photo of these two hunks of men. They've done the last ever flight in a Tornado. They're, sauntering in. They've got they're feeling pretty cool. And then underneath it says Doorknob and Bamber. Not exactly Maverick and Goose. And I thought, oh gosh. But Doorknob and Bamber, absolutely top chaps, both of them. What kind of bombs and/or 2G missiles do you use, and were they used in the Tornado avionics? Yeah, I was dropping a lot of paveway, sort of that side. That was my generation that I was doing. We just had the enhanced paveway 2, then paveway 4 as well. So yeah, really good with the avionics, did a lot of cooperative attacks, basically, where you'd go in with a wingman, and you're going to laser target. They're going to the other person drops the weapon, and it goes in on the laser energy. So that works really, really well on the software as well for that. Can you take us through crew resource management? I blooming well can. Yeah, that's my special subject. So if I was a mastermind, I'd say, yeah, what's your specialist subject? I think I'll do crew resource management. CRM, love it. Basically, when I left the Air Force, I trained as a CRM instructor. It's not customer relationship manager. Now I'm in the business world. I have to say CRM, it's not what you think. But it's brilliant. CRM is phenomenal. Between me and the nav, I think majority of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, it was excellent CRM. And it's a really interesting dynamic, because often, so in a Tornado, you can have the pilot in the front seat, very, very junior, like me, navigator in the back seat, loads of experience, and yet you're the captain. And so it's a slightly weird one. Again, on the CRM side of things, you want to talk about trust, communication skills. Hilarious when I flew with this Scottish navigator once, really, really strong Glaswegian accent. And we had a minor emergency, and he basically, I said, well, can we get the cards out? And he got the cards out, And he started talking me through the car. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I was thinking, we speak the same language. I can't understand you. I was going, can you just say that a bit slower? Okay. And, yeah, anyway, I have nothing against Scottish people. I love them dearly. But I just couldn't understand his Glaswegian accent. So that was a bit challenging. But no, you do need to work at it. The communication skills, the trust, and the dynamic, especially when you're talking things like hierarchical gradient. But generally, I never had any problems, which was fantastic. How long did it take for you to get where you are? Well, broken, it depends where I am. At the moment, running up the stairs, it didn't take me very long. When I had to run down and get my book because I forgot it. Comedy. And then I was quite out of breath. I've been a bit breathless since I had COVID. But I did survive COVID. You are right there, Philip. So I was in the Air Force for just under 17 years, about 16 and a half years. And then I did 7 years as a volunteer reservist, stopping that just last year, basically, just because I didn't have enough hours in the day. And I did have these children that I had to look after, but they are now teenagers. So having survived COVID, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to survive lockdown with 2 teenage boys, but I'm sure they'll become lovely at some point. Spanish flu and hospitalised and being just one of her symptoms was chronic sinusitis, which affected her, forced to wear a bandage on her cheek. Gosh, I did not know that, Philip. Thank you for that. Lovely fact. Did I ever do an exchange? No, you know what? I would have loved to have done an exchange. Just didn't quite work out in my career path and the timings and things like that, which was a bit of a shame, really. Graphic means of missile. Basically, the missile engagement zones, you could actually put them onto the tamper, and so you'd actually see where they were on the map. But obviously, you're going on intelligence. So the one thing that you always have to remember is that you've got them there, but actually you can't guarantee that they're there. So you mustn't totally trust them. You must be looking at all of the other intelligence that you get as well. Simon, I am so pleased. His Indian's gone cold. Oh, yeah, that's it. So engrossed. Well, I had my lasagna earlier, so I've just left it downstairs for my boys and just went like, heat it up. Some instructions. Thank you, Jude. I'm glad that you're appreciating it. What's it like to take on fuel midair in a tornado? Does it take a lot of work? You know what, actually, Mike, I actually really enjoyed tanking, but it is one of the more challenging aspects. And I talk about it in my book, actually, but one of the most stressful tanking experience I've ever had was flying back from Red Flag, as it happens. And we landed in the Azores in Larges, and we took off and we entered this really, really thick wall of cloud. So we were, and also the day before, my autopilot hadn't worked. So for the whole 7 hours, I was sort of like staring, manually flying it, which can get quite tiring after 7 hours, I can tell you. But anyway, so we're formating on this aircraft on a VC-10, and we're in close formation, and we can just about see the strobe of it. You're literally staring at this strobe. That's how thick the cloud was. And then we heard that America had just shut their airspace, and the date was indeed September the 11th. So we were in this really thick cloud. We've got no idea what's happening, and yet we're hearing of a continent that's shut down. And that is really, really challenging, because we're often told to control the controllables. You don't understand what the big picture is, but you think, I've got to act on what I know, act on 80. And so we realised that if a continent was shutting down to the west of us, then any aircraft that was heading in that direction would be returned or diverted. In fact, there potentially could be chaos in the sky without any definitive procedural separation. So at that point, basically, we had to start scanning in front of our aircraft just to clear our airspace. And we still had no understanding. And then we came over the UK, and we were having to tank as well in this really thick cloud. And when I do my speeches, I actually put some footage on, and it's really funny because as you're going up to a tanker, you're going in really slowly underneath it in case you've got an escape route. So you're coming in, and you're getting a bit tense. You're thinking, my goodness, if I mess up here in the middle of the Atlantic, you've got these brackets, you've got to get it in. And you're thinking, God, if I ram my probe in too hard I'm going to damage the basket, and I'm going to ingest all this metal into my engine. So you're there going, and your nav's going up a bit, right a bit. Oh, yeah, as if he's like just directing you to the fiction aisle of books. He's going, yeah, that's good. Really calm tones. And you're thinking, please don't mess up, please don't mess up. And you're doing it, and you're told not to look at the basket. They say, don't look at the basket, because if you do, you look, you lunge, you always miss. So you're there going, just leave it there, in peripheral vision, being taught on up a bit, left a bit, right a bit. A metre to go, and you're thinking, yes. Meanwhile, you've got all of your wingmen going, oh, she's got it in, or they're giving you marks out of 10 for your performance. You know, it's absolutely comedy value. So what is a stressful environment? It's made doubly worse by that as well. So that's hilarious. That's it. Well, so yes, there's your tanking one. I hope that's answered that, Mike. What's your favourite aviation movie? Are there any others apart from Top Gun? I must have watched it hundreds of times. And what I love is the fact that when we were going through training, we would all quote it all the time. So you know what? We don't care how sad we are. You know, there was a lot of that rubber dog out of Hong Kong comments coming out. So yeah, absolutely hilarious. Thanks for your lovely comments, Jude and Christopher. Refueling, I've answered that one there. Yeah, read the book on Kindle. How do I get a signed paper copy? Dave, go onto my Facebook, Mandy Hickson speaker page. Drop me a note, attach it to something there, and we can sort it out. Okay, so I've just ordered a few more books to be sent, and then I can post them out to you. It ends up being about £15 once I've bought the books and signed them and then posted them. So if you're happy with that, just get in touch and we can sort that out. Thanks, Craig. Really, what's your best QRA? You know what, Dan? We never had to do QRA. We are special. We are Tornado GR4s, not F3s. They got the short straw there. So no, you as GR4 pilots, you didn't have to do QRA because you're not guarding the UK against foreign invasion. Oh, Bradders! Oh, my really good, lovely friend Ian Bradford, or Bradders, is on. He got Bruggen. Okay, not Larbrook. In fact, they all got Bruggen. Thank you for correcting me, Bradders. You're a star. In fact, it was Bradders and I that were on this night sortie when I said there was no chat, just a lot of very deep breathing while we were talking to each other because we went through the OCU together. God, lovely to see you on here. Thanks, guys. Robert, if you could fly anything today, what would it be? I've already probably answered that, Robert. Yeah, I'd probably go, yeah, it could be the F-35 if it would work. But certainly I'd love to have a go in the F-18. If I could retrain with aircraft of today or the GR4, which would you choose? Oh, I think I'd probably have to go for the F-35. You know, why wouldn't you? I mean, the capability is just phenomenal. What's a combat turn and how do you fly it? So, well, basically a combat turn is just basically you're going to go around the corner as quickly as you can, pretty much. So that's that. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to speed up because I'm just looking at the time. We've got about 5 minutes left. Amazing. We always do all pilots. We spotted great stories. Thank you very much, Andy. Had nightmares when doing some testing on this. Just getting a switch wrong. I've had the similar nightmares as well. Did I ever fly in the GR4 that was painted for? No, Pinky. No, I never got to fly in Pinky. Someone was sharing a lovely photo of that on Twitter that I was sharing out, but it was fantastic. Why did I eventually leave the RAF? I hit my end of service, basically. So you signed up in the old days for 16 years or your 38th birthday. It's now 18 years or 40. But yeah, when I got to my 16-year point, it was quite a natural point to leave. And also they just got rid of Harrier about 2 years previously. And so they had this, an excess of fast jet pilots around. So in the old days, you might have assumed you could probably just stay, extend, become what's called spec air crew or professional aviator. They weren't opening that option because there was such an excess of pilots around. And so basically, if you were hitting the end of a contract, you were simply being let go, which was a shame. So Hadley, yeah, I've talked about that mid-air refueling. Never flew against the Phantom F4, which was a shame. That is a mighty beast. I'd have loved to. Beer or G&Ts in the officers' mess? Beer every time. Give me a lovely pint of Doom Bar, my favourite beer in the world, or an IPA. It's lovely to have the pubs open. Went in on Saturday, had 2 pints, felt absolutely bladdered, which was quite amusing, really, considering I've been drinking quite a bit of wine. Glad you enjoy flying in Wales. Absolutely, we love it. Your girlfriend Elaine from Twitter this morning can't access chat. Wants me to ask, did I train at Donna Nook? Yes, yeah, we often went to Donna Nook all the time. Actually, it was one of the bombing ranges that we always used. Yeah, I saw Elaine's comment on Twitter this morning. Say hi to her from me, then, will you? Father of 3 daughters. Thanks, Mandy. Oh, thanks, Christopher. Well, you know what? That's what I love. Just trying to get out there, getting out into schools to inspire the girls and boys just as much. We all need role models, and it's nice to be able to be one of those a bit now, which is fantastic. Yeah, what's it like air-to-air refueling at night? Yeah, even more challenging than during the day. But yeah, it's fine actually as well, which is good. How smooth was the tornado at low level? Pretty smooth actually, yeah, unless you hit real turbulence. But then I would say generally it was pretty smooth. Close range BMF tactics at night time. We didn't do an awful lot of air combat in the tornado. That's not what it was for, really. We'll leave that to the F3s. You know, they've got to have something to do after all. So that's that. Oh, thanks there, Sun Dodger. Really appreciate your feedback. First time you fired up your first jet, feeling, not the flight, but the nerves. Oh, do you know what? Best feeling in the world. In fact, first time I fired up a tornado was really funny because as I'd walked out to the jet, and if anyone's read my book, you'll know what I'm about to say, but it was really funny. So you can imagine you've got the tail fin and you've got the elevators that are coming out, and they are exactly in my eye line. So you know what it's like. If something's not moving, you don't really see it because there's no relative movement. So I'm walking out to the jet, I've got my helmet in my hand, and I just walked smack into the elevators. And I literally got this bruise across my forehead. I nearly knocked myself out. And it was the first time I was going to fly in a tornado. I thought, I'm not saying a bloody word. I am so getting in this jet. And I had this like corking, blooming bruise swelled up here. It was quite funny. So that's that. Great Q&A. Thank you. This is one of the best. Thank you, kind sir. Yes, love that one. And you aspire to be a pilot. Good, go for it. Honestly, best job in the world. Absolutely loved it. Apart from Bradders will disagree and say no, surely Navs is. But I've noticed that he's trained to be a pilot now. So yeah, he's seen the light, obviously. Low level is so cool, even from the ground. Remember seeing the Vigans? Yeah. Oh, lovely. Seeing the Vigans going along the lakes, and you can see them creating the ripples. Absolutely brilliant. Which position would I take in a Lancaster? The pilot seat, obviously. Yeah, Eurofighter. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having him go in Eurofighter. I had to go in the sim, nearly crashed it, which was hilarious. I couldn't believe how much thrust it had, actually, which was fantastic. Will you be coming out on Audible? Yes, it will. In fact, look at this. Just bought myself the whole get-up for my microphone. So it's funny. So I've just been testing it out on how I do my Audible. So this room will suddenly be draped in duvets. And yeah, it's going to become a cocoon of a recording studio. And so, yeah, my book hopefully should be out on Audible at some point in the non-too-distant future. It's a treat to listen to you. Which other country Air Force pilots impressed you at Red Flag for their flying ability and professionalism? You know what? It's interesting, actually, because the Turks were on our one as well, and they were actually really, really professional as well. But to be honest, it's just I loved working with the Americans. You know, they are very good at process following. That is what I would say, and they do the job absolutely accurately. Oh, the Spectres arrived at the feast. Are you going to tell me last question, are you?
Last question, Mandy. Yeah, so you pick one from like what's ever is left, and yeah.
Look at this. I have nearly caught up here. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thanks from Harden. Yeah, I landed at Harden, Jude. Great Q&A. Did the Americans give me a call sign? I had a call sign. Those that don't know, I'm 6 foot tall. Mike knows the answer. 6 foot tall. Sesame Street was on in America. There's only one call sign I'm going to get given. Big Bird. Oh, yes. I'm proud to wear the badge. Not so proud when I forgot to take it off my flying suit when I went to the dentist, though. And she said, what's your name? And I pointed and she went, Big Bird. I went, oh, no, sorry, Mandy Wells. That was a bit embarrassing. And the last question, great. Oh, there you go. I've just answered it all. How do I book you into my school? Contact me on my Facebook page, guys. It's been such a pleasure. Some great questions there. I think I actually managed to get through them all. Boom. That's what you call
I think you did, Mandy. Yeah, what an absolutely amazing Q&A, and the questions that were coming in were absolutely incredible. But did you enjoy that?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, some really good questions, actually. No, fantastic. So thank you, guys. Thank you for making it such an interesting session. That is great.
Yeah, so thank you everyone who joined us in the comments and asked some questions, and hopefully Mandy answered them for you. But an absolutely incredible Q&A. But maybe we can get you on again, Mandy, at some point, because it's been amazing. But thank you very much, guys, and this will stay on YouTube for about 24 hours before there's a slight edit, but enjoy it while you can. But thank you very much, Mandy.
Cheers, guys. Thanks ever so much.